Before we start and introduce ourselves, there's a few housekeeping rules. This presentation will be recorded for future use. So if you don't want to be visible on the screen, then please switch off your camera. Then there is a few things that we have to communicate. Please raise your hand if you're using the buttons, if you have an urgent question. Louisa in the background will manage the questions, and you can also use the chat if you have questions that we need to treat after the presentation. Okay, then to start, there will be two presenters today. It is Eelco Kruisinga, who is a principal consultant at DNV and active in the Smart Cities Marketplace project, and myself, a senior consultant at DNV and a monitoring expert on the self-reporting tool. The agenda for today is shown on this slide. First, a brief introduction to the Smart Cities Marketplace in general. That will be done by Eelco, and then the other elements will be treated by me. We will go into the ideas between the self-reporting system of the Smart Cities Marketplace, key performance indicators, what and how for participation, introduction of visualization of data, and the timeline for reporting. But that is for later. First, I want to give the floor to Eelco to introduce you because to the Smart Cities Marketplace, because it could be that newer projects that are not so familiar with the former Smart Cities Information System or the Smart Cities Marketplace need this introduction. Eelco, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rudy. So good morning. My name is Eelco Kruisinga from DNV, part of the Smart Cities Marketplace team for many years now already. Just for you to know, the Smart Cities Marketplace is an initiative of DG Energy, and it aims to help cities and towns of all sizes, particularly mid-sized, but still particularly mid-sized towns and cities across Europe, to deliver more sustainable urban environments. And what we do is we provide a lot of insights and information in many shapes and forms, and I'll get to that later, in one place. So we have this website, and we'll share the URL with that during this presentation as well. Next slide, please. So bearing in mind that this is an initiative from DG Energy, it is only natural that the focus of the marketplace is basically in three areas. It's energy, mobility, and ICT. And when we're talking about sustainable urban projects, our lens is towards interventions of three types. So energy type of interventions, either energy efficiency type of interventions or switch to renewables, mobility type of interventions, and ICT type of interventions. And what we offer is a repository, and you can see that in the left box here on the screen, a repository of EU sustainable urban projects. To date, we have over 100 project profiles in our database, showcasing the types of interventions that have been taking place over the last more than 5 years across towns and cities in Europe. What we also do is we have a space for solution providers. So we have a database of solution providers who can be involved in any sustainable urban project that you want to bring to the market, because that's an important thing for us and also for DG Energy, is that we try to create bankable urban sustainability projects. And we have a process for that that's called matchmaking. And what we do there is that we try to bring project proposals to finance, and particularly private finance. So we have a network of private investors and funds that are interested in investing in these types of projects. And we have a process to matchmake those projects with those private investors. And we provide guidance, and we can provide coaching. We have education in terms of master classes, and we also have one-to-one advisory services that are free of charge to help develop these projects and bring them indeed to finance. And then finally, we provide a forum for knowledge exchange in various focus and discussion groups, particularly online. Next slide, please. So basically, what we try to do with cities is to engage them, to get them involved into the marketplace, and then help them explore to see what's available, what has already been learned in the past. In terms of, we offer insights in terms of solution booklets. We have webinars such as these across many topical areas, and all of the materials are available on the website. What we also do in terms of one-to-one advisory services to help shape projects into concrete action plans that can create an opportunity for finance. And that's the last part. We call that deal, is that we try to broker relationships with private investors to indeed close deals and make innovations happen on the ground as well, and scale them up. Next slide, please. I think it's back to you, Rudy, now. And part just as a bridge sentence, part of the insights that we try to provide is to showcase particularly quantitative information and trends in quantitative information. So all of these interventions that have been happening over the last years in Europe, in cities, what is it that they actually do deliver in a quantitative fashion? So what we try to do is to capture data from projects, and then analyze those data and present back to cities in Europe. So what actually can happen in terms of impact on the ground, and that's why we set up this self-reporting tool and associated KPIs and visualization mechanisms to basically share good practices and lessons learned across projects in Europe. So with that bridge, I hand over back to Rudy, who can then explain the ideas, the fundamental ideas behind this self-reporting mechanism, if you like. Thank you. Rudy, back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Eelco, for this introduction. I want to start with going back a little bit in time to sketch the historic origin of all this. So around 2003 to 2005, the European Commission kind of switched part of their funding streams from research and technically oriented projects to more, well, let's say, projects related to societal issues. It appeared to them that the technical advances in, let's say, renewables like wind turbines and solar PV, the main ones at that moment, had progressed far enough in order to be implemented, but it didn't really happen. And an analysis showed that there were a lot of, let's say, societal issues like resistance against change, economical factors, uncertainty to people, what was going to happen, legal issues, regulations that obstructed a progression of the, let's say, the energy transition in the early days. And it was the start of funding of projects called integrated projects. And they were not only about technical progress, but also to tackle these legal, financial, societal issues around it in order to make it happen. Having said that, several programs were developed in beginning with Concerto, and a lot of projects started off with well, good ambitions, but the EU was keen well, they understood that all these projects were doing tasks like monitoring in their own way. And the first thing that they then did is trying to harmonize the way projects needed to be monitored. And that is monitoring on economical factors, but also technical, in order to learn lessons and extract lessons from all these projects, not on an individual basis, but also from the portfolio. But that required that monitoring was done in a more or less harmonized way, so that you could compare results in Eastern Europe with South Europe and the like. So where we stand currently is the result of that development since 2005 to 2024. And the database from all these monitoring results is now containing data from 2005 approximately to 2024. And they are based on the most commonly used key performance indicators, because well, harmonization of project indicators is good, but there are also always different focus areas and so on. So projects have their own key performance indicators, but for the self-reporting tool, it is important that they at least have a basic set and report on that in a system that was developed under the overview of the European Commission. Then after 2020, with the end of let's say the project in Horizon 2020, the way the let's say the infrastructure and low carbon economy projects were funded changed a little bit, and now there was less focus on the mandatory reporting in this tool, but there still were a lot of projects funded that had a relation with this low carbon economy, and the idea was from the European Commission to let's say try to get the data from those projects too on a voluntary basis. This webinar is intended for those projects, and we have let's say invited those that are in our view already directly to explain more about the simplified system that we have developed since a couple of years in the form of an Excel workbook, and to discuss whether this serves the purpose it is intended for, and maybe collect some good ideas from your side. These key performance indicators, a lot has been done in this field also during a long time. So it was never the intention of the Smart Cities Information System at that time to invent new indicators, because there was wealth of it already. What is important to know, however, is that many indicators were developed for cities, for example. To mention the fourth bullet in the list on the right hand, the ISO standard 37120. We have been discussing with people from this ISO committee on their experience with the indicators for sustainable development of communities, and it appeared that their ISO standard, their draft standard, included about 400 indicators already, spread over a lot of fields, so to speak. Because a smart city or a sustainable community is not only about the environment, which is the main, an important focus of the smart cities marketplace, but also about unemployment, mobility, accessibility of a city, livability in general. But that has so many aspects that it is very difficult to catch in a single standard. And it appeared that it has never been formally adopted, as far as I know, because cities were not really willing to even try to adhere to all the elements in such a standard. So there have been many, and we have extracted a core set of them that related best to the project that the European Commission funded. And so there is one of the main differences between the KPI in the smart cities marketplace with these, let's say, ISO standards and others, is that they are indicators for the pilot projects and not for the city, because it would be very difficult to establish what is actually the result in CO2 emission reduction. For example, if you have done a pilot project for 100 dwellings or 500 dwellings, where the city has 100,000 dwellings, for example, and then the results would drown simply in the large numbers of the city. So that is an important element to think about. So it appeared that it was important to, let's say, split the KPI in different themes. These themes being related to the kind of activities the EU funded. And since the beginning, the main indicator set was set up for projects related to new buildings, improving the construction standard, to put it simply, refurbished buildings, and energy systems, thinking of, for example, district heating and cooling and fueling it with geothermal energy or biomass, whatever. Since 2015, it became more important to address projects around ICT solutions for reducing the emissions. You could think of building management systems, systems improving the flexibility of grids in order to be able to accommodate more renewables, a topic that is still very, very active at the moment. And energy awareness, the home indicators for whether you're using more or less energy since last year and so on. And mobility and transport, that became also a very prominent aspect of a smart and sustainable city, moving to electric transport, shifting modal split, and so on. And since 2018, the theme of positive energy districts, because it had appeared that focusing too much on the energy performance of individual buildings was not the most cost-effective way of moving to a low carbon economy, because then you lose the synergy that you could have from combining things. So what are these key performance indicators in the smart cities marketplace self-reporting tool? These are not exhaustive lists, but they are the main ones that are also important for the voluntary reporting. That is the final energy consumption of buildings, both for new and refurbished. And final energy is actually what is used for the building. Let's say without taking into account the renewable energy, for example, that is produced on the roof by a PV system or something like that. That is an important thing to keep in mind. Then the primary energy consumption, which is important because it calculates actually how much fossil fuel is used for the buildings, how much renewable energy systems electricity production is there, or heat. It could also be renewable energy production, for example, by the renewable part of the heat produced by heat pumps. The CO2 emissions and economic performance. Is it affordable? How much is the payback time? How much euro per ton CO2 reduced does it cost? Well, similar things are there for energy systems. The indicators are not reduced to a per square meter unit, but that is not so important in this case. But we have the same indicators: final energy production, primary renewables, CO2 emission reduction achieved by this system. A system that is realized in itself does not produce any CO2 reduction, but it replaces a different system. So you have to compare this energy system to the original system and see how much savings that can lead to. Then mobility and transport and ICT, they have a more varied set of indicators because well, there are kind of different measures that can be taken, all leading to primary energy consumption reduction, CO2 emissions, etc. But otherwise, you could think of replacement of fossil-fueled vehicles by electric ones, but also number of charging locations or more use of public transport, changing, endorsing, or well, shifting to indeed biking and walking and so on. So there is a more, well, more details are there. And for ICT, the systems do also vary in systems for user awareness, smart lampposts, combining street lighting with, let's say, internet solutions and so on, building energy management systems, and system flexibility. So there are different forms even for that in order not to bother having to bother too much with questions that people's projects do not answer. And finally, positive energy districts, a little bit more details here, and a little bit different indicators like the percentage of the total net energy need covered by sources outside the district boundary, the separation between the net energy need and the net energy need without appliances, an element that was well, also introduced in the indicators because of the fact that a lot of the energy transition needed to be implemented by building better houses and better infrastructure, but developers could not be held accountable for people having well, specific hobbies like tropical aquaria or having jacuzzis in their garden. That is beyond the building code and beyond the building responsibility. So to separate between what is actually used in a building and what is used without appliances is a valid thing to do. And again here, economical indicators and also social. Now for the purpose of this webinar specifically, we have the Smart Cities Marketplace team has developed data forms in the form of Excel sheets, specifically targeting voluntary participants in the monitoring, and ending up with data when these forms are filled out that could be used in the same way as the data from the original Smart Cities Marketplace self-reporting tool. So again, we have divided the data forms in the same themes that are covered in the self-reporting tool, listed here again. But it is only needed to fill out forms or data in the form or data sheet that applies best to your project. All forms have 3 types of indicators: technical, environmental, and economical. And in order to be able to aggregate project results, older and newer projects, it's most important to provide environmental indicators related to CO2 emissions and primary energy use. Then going into the more details of the forms, I wish to say that the Excel starts with an instruction sheet. You only have to fill the green data cells. Help is provided as much as possible in the Excel sheet itself. So the red triangles in the cells, the notes provide help, and also comments column in the forms gives some basic guidance. So I made a few screenshots of the forms, not to explain them here in too much detail. Probably it's also too small for you to read, but well, to make you familiar with what you will see if you open up such an Excel sheet. I will show later the link where it can be found on the Smart Cities Marketplace website, and projects that have already provided basic data of their project in order to be included on the website have probably already seen this this form. So this is the instructions sheet. You see in the upper, now in the lower left corner, the hyperlinks to the separate sheets that are composing the workbook, and you see the new buildings, refurbished buildings, etc. Then There are two sheets on project data and on demo site data. Well, they contain the basic information about projects: start acronym, full name, logo, start and stopping date, responsible persons, and so on. Filled out by 10 or 12 already from these voluntary participants. Well, the red boxes here, they have been indicated as for advanced projects, so that is more near the end of the project, about lessons, results, etc. And then the core, the individual forms for the monitoring. Let me start by saying that as in the self-reporting tool, we make a separation between design and monitoring. If you look at the upper side of the sheet, you see in the green box design, more or less in the middle. What is important to know that most of these demonstration projects, that they last 3 to 5 years as planned from the beginning, but often they are extended to 4 to sometimes even 7 years. It would be a waste if the first results of any project would only appear after 7 years after it was invented, so to speak. So we ask the projects to fill out these monitoring forms also as designed, because that is commonly after 1 or 2 years in the project, then it is finalized what actually will be built or will be changed, and then to fill the data about that in the design form, so that it can already be communicated to the outside world what is kind of the work in progress to achieve. The monitoring forms are the same, only the heading will change to monitoring. In the Excel sheet, you can toggle from design to monitoring. And what is actually asked, and it is mentioned in the instruction sheet, is if you have monitoring data, you make a copy of the sheet, change in one of those design to monitoring, type the monitoring year, for which is the actual monitoring year or years. You can also have multiple years, and then fill out the monitoring data for that year. And here you see the comments column to the right hand side, where it is indicated how to fill out the forms. There is also a very extensive guidebook on what to fill out and how to calculate it. That is the SRT instruction book, but we hope that for most of the project it will not be necessary to deep dive into that, and that you can fill out properly by using the comments list. So what you see here is important for buildings: the size of the project, how many square meters are treated. So that already indicates that this is about demonstration projects where actual buildings are transformed. Final energy consumption, environmental indicators, and economic, as described already. For refurbished buildings, similar, slightly different because of the fact that in refurbished buildings, you also can have data from the building as it was, so the existing, the original building, and that is valuable information anyway to fill out too if you have it. So there is a reference building, which is usually built according to the building code, and there is the original building before refurbishment. Energy systems, I will go a little bit quicker now because the idea is the same everywhere. You have a reference system value, the value after the demonstration, and then here the savings compared to the reference system. And for all indicators indicated in this form. Information and communication technology, there are 4 forms. They are simpler than the others because we have focused on different aspects of the ICT theme. In this case, energy awareness. Then, oh, sorry. Energy management systems. Apart from the CO2 reduction and energy consumption reduction, there are individual indicators like number of building energy management systems deployed. With the other one, was it energy awareness systems deployed for flexibility of the grid, indicators about peak shaving, controllable loads. Controllable loads, think of remotely controlled heat pumps that can be remotely switched on and off in order to avoid peak load on grids, a very actual subject, especially in the Netherlands at the moment. Then we have transport and mobility. Here, think of number of vehicles, road length adopted for active mobility, etc. Gained from private motor, number of users used for public transport, for example, that shifted from private vehicles. And for positive energy districts, size of the project, again, square meters here is important, and the total energy need. So that is in a nutshell how to fill out the forms. The remaining part of my presentation will be about visualization of the results and a timeline on how to fill out the forms. I have used here some data provided by InCube. They are design data. This is a screenshot of the page that you see if you open the InCube project page on the Smart Cities Marketplace website and go to demo site Groningen, and there you have a left-hand menu that shows details of what they will be doing in Groningen, a brief description, the expected impact, and visualizations. And those visualizations show the data that have been entered for specific KPI. In this case, it is about the final energy demand for the reference building before refurbishment and after. The after situation needs to be derived here by subtracting the savings from the reference building. So let's say only 20% approximately of the total final energy demand was needed after the execution of the project. And the local renewable energy share of the total project is also a parameter that has been provided here. This is on the individual project or demo site pages. There is also a sheet or a page called data. If you go to Smart Cities Marketplace and then to explore and to data, then you see graphs showing the trends in results of individual projects or project parts, because the individual sheets are data points are related to specific activities in these projects. So there are many projects and activities that have been carried out. For example, here for refurbished buildings, the CO2 emission in kilogram per square meter of building per year over the time. And that, well, I personally think that the trend is not very clear. Let's go downwards, for example, but bear in mind that projects they include different building types: residential, tertiary, and industrial, and not always the mix of buildings being treated is the same. It could be that more recently cities preferably let's say adapt very energy consuming buildings like sports facilities, ice rinks, or whatever, because the savings there are biggest if they treat such a complex building, but it doesn't lead necessarily to an almost zero CO2 emission of those buildings. So take care in interpreting all this, but this is the overview of the data in refurbishment, the refurbished buildings over a time span of more than 10 years. And for ICT in transport and mobility, the time span was shorter. So a summary has been made of the savings in these kind of projects, and especially in transport and mobility, it is clear that you see per project activity, the average savings is about 57%, which is well, quite significant, because but it has to do, for example, with a pilot project replacing a series of diesel buses to electric buses or hydrogen buses, whatever. And so you see a very significant savings percentage for those individual projects. And it is an indication what you could achieve if you roll it out very widely, if it is affordable for your city. And we have aggregated data for overall projects and so on all the square meters that have been treated in new buildings, refurbished buildings, amount of positive energy districts, and this is mainly related to the building sector, because there we have enough data to aggregate in a proper way. How to include, how to go forward for your projects. In order to be able to report actual data, it is important or required that the project has been created in the Smart Cities Marketplace website, which is already done by well, more than a dozen projects. And then based on the intake form, the team creates the project entry. That has happened too. And data can then be provided by returning the intake form with data filled out in the sheets that have been shown in this webinar. In the course of the project, those are most likely design data, and monitoring data is normally provided near the end of the project in the evaluation phase. A sample timeline for reporting, well, normally would be that already during the proposal writing, you would recognize that it is needed to or desired to set up a proper monitoring system, and then already make people responsible for data provision already in the beginning of the project. Split up your project possibly in actions, field of actions. It is a kind of activity like cleaning mobility or refurbishment of a set of houses, and well, think about the forms that you need to fill out for that. And then at the completion of the demonstrator, you can start entering the final data. Important notes. Again, I repeat that the final energy use is not actually the net energy use of a building. If it has also renewables on the roof, you need to subtract that renewable energy consumption from the final energy use to result in what is actually the net energy use. First, completely fill out design forms and then start with monitoring. The instruction manual for the SRT is here, the link, and it shows what kind of calculations are done, how to fill out forms, how to use visualization. I skip this one, but here you can see where data can be entered in the self-reporting tool itself, but it's not necessary for you specifically. And sources of information. I have shown various links in the slides, and the availability for an empty data intake form, you can find it at the link shown here. Well, some ending slides to conclude. That's it for me. I think we have about 10 or 15 minutes left for questions. It would be good, it would be nice to know who are still in the audience, and well, whether you could comment on the presentation. And what I would personally like to know, what is important for the team, is to understand whether the KPI that have so far been used by the Smart Cities Marketplace also match to whatever extent with indicators of the voluntary project. Thank you. I will stop sharing the screen.
Hi all. I think it's my turn to speak, because I think I am the only person in the audience to
You started
by now.
off with 2.
Yeah, but it was only 5 minutes away that the other person went out. So I think she has heard about the nearly complete explanations that you have just said, Rudy. So hello everyone. Hello again, Rudy. It's a long time since I don't see you from our past activity in Direction Project, if you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that moment we already had these discussions on how to share the information with the commission on the projects and so on. Well, in this case, I'm in a different. I keep on in the same company. I'm Julia Center Cardiff, and in my project, which is Mobilities for EU. I think that the part of the presentation you have spoken about is the one of mobility. In our case, all of the actions that we are doing are about mobility. And yeah, to be truth, I don't know if we will be able to provide such a lot of information so far or in the future. Just because, to give you a kind of overview, we are already, let's say, obliged. provide information to many other clusters because of the cluster in which we are in the project. We have to give information to Civitas, which I saw that is one of the backgrounds that you have for the monitoring and the indicators for the mobility actions. For Civitas, for 2.0, for SICAM, because in our case we have also autonomous vehicles, apart from sustainable ones. Of course, all of them are electric cars, but also we are having not only electric, but also hydrogen buses in our project. And yeah, of course, what I would like to do is to get all the information on what are the Excel sheets that we should comply with, and pass these to our monitoring and evaluation manager, that I think that they would be the ones evaluating how easy or difficult should be to compile the information as in the way you need it. And then, yeah, it's just to be honest, to tell you about this, because we are having like a very big bunch of different ones to give information to, and to check if in terms of not availability or that we would like to, because for us it's not a problem to give information to any, but it's a question of workload. So if at the end the workload is not that much, for us we would be okay on giving information to the Smart Cities marketplace also. So let's see how it is. So I guess that you are going to send us the links for the Excel or the Excel itself, so we can give it a look on this. Also, let us know how frequently you will be asking those data to us. If it's just once, it's in different moments along the project afterwards or whatever. And then we can analyze directly with all this specific information and give you an answer on what would be our possibilities on this communication and this collaboration with you. But I would say for us, it's good to see that all of this information is gathered. I understand totally that the big bunch of projects that have been introducing information here are more related with buildings, and then they are growing and being bigger aspects around them. And mobility, I guess, is not one of the most included. I saw in the last image you showed that there were like 6 to 9 maybe projects already sending information. I guess that it was not the focus at the beginning of this initiative. So yeah, for us, it wouldn't be a problem to share information, but the only question would be this workload I was mentioning, just to be honest.
Yeah. And Julia, I missed out briefly the project you are involved in.
Mobilities for EU.
Okay, mobility for EU.
It's
we
a
have
5
this
years.
list of
it's 5 years project, and we are now in the month just starting month 19.
Okay, and how long will your project last from now on? I can look it up. But
it's till the end of 2028.
Okay, so that's still a number of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Well, actually, there is two moments that we normally expect for project to provide data. As I said, the design data somewhere, well, depends on the project, but typically midway the project, it should be clear what is actually going to be demonstrated and what are the expectations around that in terms of the indicators that we propose, and then at the end of the project. So yeah.
Okay.
And the first data, the design data, they don't really require a monitoring activity. So it is based on what are your expectations in the project. So on the goals that you have. So yeah, so that is my answer to that. So that would be easiest, I think. And indeed, it is the projects are normally quite long, so it is and the Smart Cities Marketplace is not, maybe for many projects, not really the day-to-day focus. I would say.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, and one other question. In our case, for example, we are having 2 demonstration cities, which are Madrid and Dresden in Germany. And we are having different pilots with a total amount of 27 actions between the two cities. Not all of them are, let's say, so physical actions. There are some.
Mhm.
So I guess that in this case, we should concentrate in those that are supposed to have physical
Yeah.
demonstrations, you mean? Because in some cases are like replanning or for aspects in the city and things like that. So those are not that much linked to this initiative. So I guess that we should only concentrate in the actions in which we are, for example, in Madrid, which they are going to have the electrification of one of the municipal bus hubs, and also we are going to change quite a lot of buses from the normal ones to electric ones. So that would be one example for the ones
Yeah.
that should be in, but
You
maybe
are
others
correct
not.
in that.
So okay, so we should select those actions that could derive in direct monitoring final data.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That makes it easier even.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think I don't have so much questions by now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess you're gonna send around this information, the presentation, and I guess the links or the Excel. Where should we download it or whatever? And yeah, I will put this in communication to my manager on verification on evaluation and monitoring, and we will let you know. Maybe after summer, I guess would be like more just to say proper moment to tell you, because we are entering now on reporting, and it's going to be a little hectic to have other things on my partners to work on. But by the end of summer, we will have a bit of time to go again on this. Anyway,
Yeah,
I think
well,
that we are on time.
that
Yeah,
would be nice. And
just
I
to
think
check. Yeah, just to check, Rudy, Julia. You have each other's. You have Julia's contact details, Rudy?
well, I don't. I have to check. Let me see whether I have here at hand the.
Yeah, let's not make that part of the recording.
Yeah, well, I have this list of voluntary projects and.
Okay.
But if you registered, Julia.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
then we have the means to
Okay,
contact
perfect.
you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. No problem on this. Yes, contact me, send me this information, and I would put it forward to the correct people in the team.
Yeah, and I can confirm that well, the webinar has been recorded. It will be posted somewhere on the Smart Cities website. But I think it would also be good, Elko, that we send the presentation as a PDF or whatever to all the maybe even to all the people that we invited, not only the ones that registered, but also the people that we.
Yeah, because you are
invited.
having a lot of links within the presentation, and I think it's interesting to be able to go through the links.
Yeah, because that probably doesn't work through a video.
No, not in the video, but in the PDF you can make it.
Yeah. Okay.